Wohlmacher versus Kyle Dorsey. Looking at the team on the right, we have Jim Higginbottom on the top, James Wohlmacher, and you might know Joey Manor on the bottom, top 8 competitor from Pro Tour Kaladesh. All three of them teaming up here. We have Storm versus Mono Red Prison in the Legacy match. Not something we see all that often. On the bottom, White Blue Monument versus Teamer Energy.
And we're underway with a turn 1 Noble Hierarch from our Naya Company pilot, Kyle Dorsey. We'll see if Wohlmacher has anything to answer that. There's a Fatal Push here. Only 1 copy for Path to Exile. I suppose it would have to be the Fatal Push. You don't really want a Path to Exile Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, fair enough.
This looks like untapped black mana. And yeah, he has drawn the 1 Fatal Push.
All right, so push will take care of that turn 1 Noble Hierarch. Great way to have drawn it up.
Yeah.
We'd like to not Path to Exile it. Wild Nacatl from Dorsey into fetch land. So represents the ability to make it a 3/3. Kyle's hand, Renegade Rallier looks like, so he would like to not use the fetch land here.
His, yeah, you want to be able to trigger that so you can get back the Noble Hierarch now that's in the graveyard. If you need another land, getting back a fetch land is also good there. Wohlmacher has access to turn 2 Bitter Blossom. It's a scary proposition against a Wild Nacatl deck.
Thoughtseize are really well timed from Wohlmacher. Kyle's hand is a land, 2 Paths to Exile, and a Renegade Rallier. If you have Thoughtseize, it's really tempting to just leave him with Path to Exiles.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those paths, not the most meaningful cards in this matchup. If you can land Lingering Souls, that card's laughably bad. Yeah, Path to Exile not particularly good against Bitter Blossom either, though if you're able to apply significant pressure, it's certainly better against Bitter Blossom than it is against Lingering Souls.
So it does take the Rallier. Looks like James will shock for a Noble Hierarch on the way back.
And James being aggressive with his use of lands and Thoughtseize here.
Well, his hand's actually set up to be aggressive. You see his remaining cards, 2 copies of Voice of Resurgence and a Vault of the Archangel and Bitter Blossom. He'd like to set, by shocking for Noble Hierarch, he can set up Bitter Blossom and Voice of Resurgence.
Even just if he was able to produce double Voice of Resurgence next turn, that would be great. The Vault of the Archangel as the 3rd land, that would not enable that, but yeah, Voice Bitter Blossom wouldn't be bad. You have to be a little bit concerned about your life total when your opponent's casting cards like Wild Nacatl, though the Noble Hierarchs do tell you that's not the most aggressive build of a Wild Nacatl deck.
Yeah, so these teams are teams that we might be seeing a lot of this weekend. 4 undefeated teams remain in the tournament. You know that one of them is the team of Todd Stevens, Tom Ross, Jody Keith. They're on table 1. This is table 2. The team of Higginbottom, Wohlmacher, and Manor, 6-0. The team of Gnieski, Dorsey, and Cooper are 5-0-1. So technically undefeated, but not a perfect record. Kyle just added that Noble Hierarch on his turn. And one thing I like about James, if he's setting up to, say, Bitter Blossom with multiple Voices of Resurgence, that Vault of the Archangel in his hand plays very nicely with Bitter Blossom.
It is a bit awkward that you just know about Path to Exiles, 2 copies in Dorsey's hand. That Voice not going to amount to very much.
Yeah, I mean, at least Kyle has to spend the mana main phase, which he will.
Right. Given that you just know about 2 Path to Exiles, there's nothing else that the mana's doing.
Yeah, do you try to play something else out first or not play them at all?
It doesn't look like James even has the options.
He could leave up No, I was going to say he could leave up Abrupt Decay, but he actually can't even do that. He only has one source of black mana.
Yeah, that's making things pretty awkward for him here. And yeah, casting the Abrupt Decay for the Nacatl before you try for any of those creatures, that does make sense.
James is down to 9.
Won't be able to make too many fairy tokens
So
this
he
game.
actually just didn't make Bitter Blossom that turn. He's
Yeah,
not
just
decided
leaving
to
up
not
Abrupt
play
Decay.
anything.
Yeah, because he can't 2-spell with Abrupt Decay. Just has to kill that Nacatl.
Yeah, I understand that. Right. He actually Abrupt Decay. If he wants to cast it, is his only spell. You can't cast that and Voice. Can't cast that and Bitter Blossom. You're right.
So while the Vault, in theory, helps him long term if he gets some fairies on the battlefield to gain some life back, it's really not helping him as far as mana efficiency this turn.
Yeah, and it'll Exalt. It was a change of plans. James had shocked for the land with the hope of playing both those spells, and then drew Abrupt Decay. Had to change his plans halfway through.
This does seem better for him, though. It's less mana efficient, but getting that Nacatl off the battlefield makes the Bitter Blossom a lot better.
Yeah, Kyle no plays back just yet. And James picks up a land, so he still has those 3 2-mana threats.
A big check here will be to see if Dorsey has picked up a Collected Company for the end step. If that does not happen, Wohlmacher may have turned the corner.
So here's going to be Voice of Resurgence. And Bitter Blossom. You mentioned playing Voice into a hand where he knows there are 2 paths to exiles.
Yeah, no Collected
Yeah,
Company.
no, well, there's just 2 cards, so it's just the 2 paths. Draws Tarmogoyf. That will play here. It's the instant sorcery land. It looks like it'll be a 3/4. Creature, make that a 4/5. Path to Exile will get rid of the Voice of Resurgence. Noble Hierarch attacks James down to 8. He's getting low on life points, but remember about Vault of the Archangel. It's going to be a way that he can get back in.
Also notably a way to give Death Touch to a fairy token to kill the Tarmogoyf.
I do like that. And yeah, Kyle plays Tarmogoyf. On upkeep, James will go to 7. And draws Lingering Souls. So if you want to find a way to get that Vault online a turn or 2 earlier, that's a very nice way to do it.
And his mana woe is pretty much solved now.
Yeah.
He could cast and flashback the souls. He could cast souls plus Voice of Resurgence here.
Yeah, looks like he's going to do the second one. Souls plus Voice. That'll be the last cards in his hand. And he'll pass. At 7, because you know next turn. Vault will be online. It's a 4/5 Tarmogoyf for Kyle. Picks up, though, just another Forest. As far as burn goes, his deck just has 3 copies of Lightning Bolt, and that's it.
Path to Exile not lining up well against this board at all. And next turn, Wohlmacher will be able to activate the Vault of the Archangel, start gaining some life, turn off top decking Lightning Bolts as an out.
Kyle paths away the Voice of Resurgence and attacks with Tarmogoyf.
Given the fact that the Bitter Blossom makes a token every turn, that Wohlmacher still has access to flashback Lingering Souls, makes a lot of sense to chump block here.
Yeah, and that's what he'll do. And we'll path. On James's turn, he'll go to 6 off his Bitter Blossom. He picks up a Thought Seize. I'm not sure he wants to cast that one.
No, good chance that that one does not get cast for the entire game. Wohlmacher does have the mana both to activate Vault of the Archangel and flashback Lingering Souls here.
Yeah, that's a pretty tempting line, too. He'll swing with 2 flyers. See if Vault... Yeah, Vault unlikely to activate yet. He wants to leave that back as a blocking potential for the Tarmogoyf.
Yep. Next turn when he's attacking with considerably more power. Makes more sense.
Here's Lingering Souls. Flashback cost. It says go, and you see the Vault is there, the 3 lands with it, and the Noble Hierarch is the mana to activate it. Kyle draws another land. The land is Horizon Canopy, so he'll get a redraw. That's something that plays.
And there, Thalia Heretic Cathar, the pickup after that.
Yeah, a turn late on the Thalia. Now, she does have First Strike, which plays well on this board.
It stops Vault from taking it down in combat.
Yeah.
But now there's just so much flying power for Wohlmacher.
It goes down to 5. And it's interesting to see how he manages this Vault of the Archangel. You know, if you wanted to play it very defensively, he could just never use it, leave it up as a potential blocking option. But if that happens, he's risking Lightning Bolt killing him off the top of the deck.
Yeah, his life total is getting quite low.
Bitter Blossom, never an easy card.
Sometimes it's an easy card.
Okay, sometimes it's an easy card. You just play it and then have a bunch of Spell Stutter sprites on curve. That's an easy card.
Right. Though that's a lot worse in Modern than it ever was in Standard. That was a very powerful Standard deck. A pretty good extended deck.
Powerful enough that Bitter Blossom was banned in Modern for a while.
And a Modern deck that only Cedric Phillips would play.
12-3 with that at Grand Prix Vegas, I believe. Bitter Blossom actually as a card is pretty good against Death Shadow. It's one of the reasons we're starting to see different decks adopt it. Obzon playing it. Seen some affinity lists play it.
Yeah, as you saw the shift away from Teamer Battle Rage and Lightning Bolt, you're not getting punished at all for your Bitter Blossom.
James deciding just how he wants to use this Vault of the Archangel, and it's tricky. The making a chump blocker every turn Thalia keeps that in check a little bit more as his Bitter Blossom tokens enter the battlefield tapped.
It slows it down some.
Looks like James going to swing for 4 and Vault. That sounds about right, I think, on the Vault management. Kyle goes to 12, James up to 9. With the life gain, he could just start taking the Thalia hits. And Lightning Bolt was picked up for Kyle. Okay.
I think it's too little too late.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it interesting.
Attack with both creatures should poke through for 3 damage here.
That put James blocking with the Hierarch. That'll put James to 6 and then 5 on upkeep. You're getting there, but
if James chump blocks with the Hierarch and the token, that might just put him through here.
He takes 3 and blocks the Tarmogoyf.
Okay.
So it goes to 6. Looks like he'll go to 5. Seems shortcutting there, the new tapped token, so the other one untaps. 6 creatures in play. Looks like a 2-turn clock. His hand is 2 discard spells. That's not going to do anything.
Did find Inquisition, though. He can cast that one without losing life, and now he'll know about the Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, that's going to get cast. See where Kyle throws it. Assume upstairs.
Gotta be upstairs. But once you know about that, it's a little bit easier to manage your Vault. You want to gain enough life to not die to another Lightning Bolt plus Bitter Blossom.
So he needs to make sure.
So this puts him to 2.
2.
So he just needs to be at 5 to survive Lightning Bolt, Bitter Blossom. So he's going to want to gain 3 life at least.
This turn.
Yes.
This isn't easy. He could swing 4 flyers is the safe number.
Yeah.
And then to use Vault. He's in this awkward position, though, where when he does that, he's losing 2 blockers a turn. He's losing 2 creatures a turn and only making 1. So his damage output will start to fall off.
That is true. Both players certainly looking to the top of their deck in addition to what's happening on the battlefield.
And James is going to go with the opposite direction, swing all 6. He's just dead.
Well, it puts him to 8 against 7 if that Goif is still a 4-5.
And a Bitter Blossom trigger.
Right, you're right. Oh, wow.
He messed it up. Kyle's gonna get this game.
Yeah, that's too many attacks.
Puts him to 8. We'll make sure we have this, confirming that he is confirmed at 8. Yeah. And James sees it. Yeah, Kyle's going to get the game. A costly misstep for Wohlmacher. And game 1's going to go to Kyle Dorsey, we believe. Okay, well, we're reporting to us that James wins here.
Yeah, I wasn't going to report that just yet because the way the cards were picked up, it looked like Kyle conceded.
He said, I only have 7 damage, and then swung. Missing the Bitter Blossoms. I mean, it does look on the board like you only have 7 and your opponent's at 8 and you're dead in the air.
Yeah, he never turned his creatures sideways. Huh.
Okay. There may be something on the board state that we are missing from the players. I don't want to say it was a...
Yeah, I don't know. I can't...
That's close enough that, yeah.
All I'll reference now is the scoreboard.
All right, all right, so we can run update on some of the matches. James Wohlmacher takes game 1 with Obzon. Ryan Gnieski takes game 1 with Mono Red Prison. If you're wondering what that deck is, it's similar to a Mono Red Sneak Attack, except it's not doing a sneak attack kill. It's higher on Trinispheres.
Taking its time.
Yeah. More prison elements, less of the really big flashy top end. Standard, Joey Manor and Kyle Cooper are going to game 3.
Teamer Energy and Blue-White Monument, 2 very strong contenders immediately out of the gates with the release of Hour of Devastation. Both of these decks very powerful.
All right, so let's look at some sideboards. On Naya Company by Kyle Dorsey, he has 3 copies of Blood Moon, 2 Dusk to Dawn, 2 Thalias. That would be Thalia's number 3 and 4. 2 copies of Termod's Crypt.
Oh, they're the other Thalia.
Oh, this is the 2-mana Thalia. All right, so okay, these are those ones on the board. He has 2 of the 3-mana Thalia on the main and 2 of the 2-mana one on the board. 2 Termod's Crypts, 2 Aven Mind Sensor, 2 Stony Silence, a Seal of Primordium, and an Elspeth Knight Errant.
This sideboard is not built with Obzon in mind. Blood Moon can be quite good. You can shut off their mana sometimes. So that one probably coming in. You can bring in Seal of Primordium now that you know about Bitter Blossom, but that's not even that good.
Elspeth Knight Errant is probably fine. It can get attacked down by Bitter Blossom and Lingering Souls, which is a problem, but it's still this value card.
There'll be games where it can be quite good. There's also games where it's quite bad.
Yeah, do you like anything like Thalia in this deck? First Strike seems to be good against all the 1/1s James is making.
So it slows down the casting of Lingering Souls and makes you attack okay with them with the first strike creature itself, but it also slows down your collected company, and I think that is just too high of a cost in a fair matchup. I guess unfair decks I think is the only spot where you really want the Thalias. And on the other side for James Wohlmacher, Sideboard is 3 Fulminator Mage, 2 Stony Silence, 2 Collective Brutality, a Damnation, a Maelstrom Pulse, a Zealous Persecution, a Fatal Push, an Abrupt Decay, a Ghost Quarter, a Thoughtseize, and a Creeping Corrosion. So likely to see some of these 1/1 removal spells, Fatal Push, Abrupt Decay. Good argument for Damnation as well against these creature decks, and frequently you'll see Collective Brutality against any deck with Collected Company. If you can hit Noble Hierarch and find Collected Company in their hand, that's very high upside.
Yeah, we see. Yeah, Collective Brutality seems like it could be really good. Do you think he wants to go enough slower to just start playing cards like Damnation here?
It seems totally reasonable.
I think I'm into it as well. Well, they're going to wait for a second game. Kyle Dorsey with Naya Company will be on the play. Starting games earlier, we debuted our upcoming pre-release playmat. That's going to be with the release of Ixalan. This is the Jolly Rover playmat.
That's a good one.
I like that. See, we're talking about the dog there.
Talking about that flag. That's the Jolly Rover.
Well, yeah, the flag is. What animal's on it? So it's a dog, right, with a bone in its mouth. I think so.
I think so.
Dog captain will put that on
We'll
his
get
flag.
confirmation on that.
That will be given away at Ixalan pre-releases, September 23rd through 24th. So a couple months away. You can still sign up right today as a store. You can register over StarCityGames.com. Game number 2 between Kyle Dorsey and James Wohlmacher starts out here for Noble Hierarch. This time it is not Fatal Pushed. Kyle will get the extra mana.
Perhaps a Blood Moon?
That'd be nice. Just turn 2 Blood Moon here.
Don't think he has it. But it looks like he does have Thalia 3, the Heretic Cathar, that can really slow down James's development.
Yeah, especially if James' hand was something like turn 2 Bitter Blossom. That really is a lot of damage and very slow against Thalia.
Yeah, Thalia slows down the tokens, and in particular, if it was coming off of a non-basic land, it would really slow it down.
Now there is the 3-mana Thalia. I will look back over to Wohlmacher. If you didn't catch his deck at the Invitational, it's a different take on Abzan in that it's very threat heavy. You see Knight of the Reliquary in his hand, Bitter Blossoms. Once you factor in Lingering Souls, the deck is all the way up to 19 creatures.
Yeah, it's kind of a Abzan deck with a lower mana curve, even a couple Voice of Resurgence. Some critters that get on the battlefield quickly, apply pressure.
Yeah, and this comes at the cost of of a lot less removal. And there's no Maelstrom Pulses. It's down a Liliana of the Veil.
Yeah, there's still a good amount, but you're right, it is lighter. You got to make room for that Knight of the Reliquary somewhere.
Which I don't mind. So Thalia will swing in. For James, just making lands right now is falling pretty far behind. Voice of Resurgence was added for Dorsey. He's deciding how much more he wants to add. Damnation's got to be on his mind at this point. And he'll just keep going. Adds Noble Hierarch as well. A lot of pressure on James for that sideboard Damnation.
Or at least to start picking these creatures off one at a time.
Well, he has Abrupt Decay and now picks up Liliana of the Veil, but each of those only answers one creature.
Awkward and slow, that is for sure. Given the Voice Resurgence, even a Damnation wouldn't be a clean sweep, and of course couldn't happen until next turn anyway.
There's figuring out life totals here as James is going to fetch. He's going to Fatal Push down the Thalia. All right. Now deciding what land he wants to get. And the white-blue, so in standard, yeah, we have the white-blue and Teamer Energy. Those two decks looking like they are going to be strongly represented in standard. They were both among the popular decks last weekend, especially white-blue Monument.
Cool trick there. James held priority after cracking his fetch land. Fatal push to Thalia so we could find this untapped overgrown tomb.
Goes to 12, casts Bitter Blossom. And that's the explanation. I noticed, mentioned earlier about how Thalia would really slow down a card like Bitter Blossom. Has to get rid of it then.
Bitter Blossom not lining up against this 5 active power though on 2 creatures. It looks like, is that Kasali Pride Mage in Dorsey's hand as well?
Looks like it. He'll swing for 5. That knocks James down to 7. And you're right, here is, let's just add Tarmogoyf. You're right that he does have Kasali Pride Mage, but.
And he has another land as well, so Sacred Foundry entering on tap, so you can use this fetch land, the Noble Hierarchy. You can also play Pride Mage and sacrifice that to kill the Bitter Blossom before it ever makes a token. And as he picked up the deck, spotted a couple
some
blood moons.
I was looking at that one too.
That one stands out.
And so it's going to be Kasali Pride Mage, and he'll immediately spend the mana to remove Bitter Blossom. And that does the unfortunate effect of adding Tribal and Enchantment to the graveyard.
Oh yeah, I forgot that Bitter Blossom was tried. It's a fairy. It counts for Spell Stutter Sprite. Now that that's in this
that
deck.
really mattered. Yeah, that mattered.
That has mattered.
So Tarmogoyf up to 5, just 5/6. So yeah, we don't have the sorcery yet.
Kind of in damnation or bust territory here.
Well, he's not dead on the board. He can Abrupt Decay away the Tarmogoyf. He'd take 5, and then we'd have to see.
Yeah, some mana issues here. I suppose, yeah, just missing on lands. A lot of 3-mana spells in the hand. Knight of the Reliquary, Liliana of the Veil. I think 2 Abrupt Decays in hand and a basic Plains is one of his 3 mana sources.
He'll Abrupt Decay the Tarmogoyf, and no more plays, just has to pass.
Okay, well, stomping around off the top for Dorsey does help Wohlmacher a little bit. But going down to 2, both creatures are lethal.
And Lingering Souls for James, making blockers. Over on our Legacy table, Jim Higginbottom and Storm defeat Mono Red Prison in Game 2, so they'll be playing a deciding Game 3. Back to Thalia for Dorsey, and James can't beat that one.
But the concession there, gotta figure Damnation wasn't in the deck for that game.
Yeah, it would have been a live top deck.
It would have been his only live top deck, but
you see him and you can tell it's him immediately reaching for the sideboard too.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Damnation.
Yeah, maybe I want to kill everything.
So all 3 matches are going to be heading for Game 3. As you see the standard one already underway. Now, when you're starting to play Bitter Blossom in your Tarmogoyf deck, it might be a good time to use the Tarmo die. That's going to be a pretty big Tarmogoyf.
Nice segue.
Ooh, thank you. These available at StarCityGames.com/Tarmo die in sets of 4 and singles.
That segue was almost as smooth as it is to roll the Tarmogoyf from a 2-3 to a 3-4.
Well, if you have Bitter Blossom, you just skip right past it.
Its sleek design allows rolling from number to number effortlessly.
You see Legacy just starting Game 3, Modern shuffling up Standard. Joey Manor and Kyle Cooper deep into their 3rd game.
I like this Storm deck in those mountain sleeves. Deck technically produces red mana.
Lots of it. Yeah, well, no, it's Legacy Storm, so it's more black mana than red mana.
Not off basic mountain either.
Well, it's close.
The closest thing to basic mountain is plateau.
Oh, you're saying, yeah.
Badlands is closer to swamp.
They're about to start their third game. 20 minutes remaining in the round. Remember, this is table number 2. 4 undefeated teams left in the tournament. Team of Higginbottom, Wohlmacher, and Manor, 6-0. Team of Gnieski, Dorsey, and Cooper, 5-0-1.
Both off to excellent starts to the tournament.
Yeah, and what about these team events is they're with the amount of rounds, and because the effect is you have a smaller number of teams, they're really a grind in that there's a lot of chances to play the other top teams. Each of these results is going to matter if you make it down toward the end of the standings.
Right.
Your team can be afforded a few losses, maybe even a draw. That's fine. The top 8 teams playing single elimination tomorrow.
Plenty of standard, modern, and legacy this weekend. And this is one of very few rounds where we have not had a mono red aggro deck in the standard section.
Yeah, that's really been one of the popular choices. One of the things I'm interested in is you look at the legacy choices as well. We're seeing actually this is a more mono red in the legacy seat, but not burn. We're seeing a lot of stompy decks. So there was Tezzeret, mono red prison, mono red sneak attack. To me, that's a concern. Look at these decks, mono red prison and storm. If you're in the legacy seat and you're playing lands, if you're Jody Keith, this isn't good.
No, this is far from ideal. Going to be crushing pretty hard on your sphere of resistances.
All right, game number 3. Dorsey mulligans to 6 on the play, but does start off with Birds of Paradise and turn 2 Blood Moon. It's not going to pull it off just yet, though. Fatal Push takes care of the birds.
And multiple non-basics here for Dorsey.
Yeah, sometimes Blood Moon is a powerful spell.
If you can maintain this Noble Hierarch and get basic forest off that fetch land, still not bad.
Tarmogoyf for James Wohlmacher. That's going to be the one spell he gets to cast. So it looks like Kyle's about to drop Blood Moon onto the table.
A little unfortunate for Kyle that James had basic forest in the Tarmogoyf, just naturally.
Yeah, he does have that. Looks like he has another basic forest in his hand, but the rest of his hand looks to be little black and white cards.
Yes, second Tarmogoyf. This
is interesting.
This might be a runaway for our non-Blood Moon player, depending how many more spells Dorsey can actually cast.
Yeah, we'll see. It could be. Knight of the Reliquary actually plays difficult with Blood Moon. You can only sacrifice plains and forests. But he signed up to do this, and that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, so he has that forest there. He can find any land, which means he can find mountains or 2 of his other 3 basic forests or his basic plains.
All right, our first match complete. Joey Manor, and with Teamer Energy, is your winner. So for James, good news. If he wins this, they can go ahead and wrap it up.
And he's doing surprisingly all right for being the player that controls a generic creature with power and toughness against a player who cast a presumably powerful sideboard card.
There's 2 Tarmogoyfs.
Okay, and Dorsey did pick up a collected company. We'll find out exactly how significant that is as he's just going to cast it.
Tarmogoyfs currently 3/4. Here's collected company.
And Dorsey has found 2 Tarmogoyfs of his own. All right. Game on.
Sure. Tarmogoyfs. And actually, because of the Noble Hierarch on Kyle's side, he can break the Tarmogoyf standoff.
Yeah, he can go ahead and freely attack with 1. It would trade with one of the other Tarmogoyfs, and then from that position, he has Tarmogoyf advantage.
I guess James gets to, if he wants to swing out, both can hit one on the way back, but that's costly. Yeah, Blood Moon dealing a ton of damage here. Tarmogoyf will exalt to 4-5. And looks like James just is signing up to take these hits. Goes to 16.
If you take it, you get to crack back, depending what Dorsey commits in addition to this.
If you swing both for the crackback, he's going to take even more damage the following turn, and you have to look at how the numbers add up for it.
If you're in a position where one player is committing more threats, being the one that's trying to make a big attack, you want to be the one that is committing the threats, not the one that's trying to win with the 2 creatures you already have in play.
Well, I mean, in James' situation, if his opponent is casting spells and James isn't, maybe he just has to attack.
It's a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, you see 5 cards in hand, none of them castable. And a big smile here across James's face because he doesn't have to play this one out. Over in Legacy, Jim Higginbottom storms out his opponent and wins. So this match, it does not conclude. And that's a pretty big sigh of relief.
Yeah, you got to figure that Dorsey was going to pull further